Ready to elevate your guitar skills? Today we'll cover a simple technique that anyone can use. And seriously, it'll triple your chord vocabulary and instantly make you a better musician. Coming right up. I was at band practice the other day and a sort of typical thing happened. We were playing CeeLo Green's Forget You. I'm sure you know the song. It goes something like this. Anyway, the singer wanted to change keys, and anyone who plays out knows that that happens a lot. He said, "How about A?" So I said, "Okay." Now he looked at me in amazement and said, "How did you do that?" But actually it's not that hard. Now that's called transposing, and it's a great skill to have, but it's also a byproduct of something that we're going to do today, which is much simpler, and I guarantee if you start doing it, you'll explode your knowledge of the fretboard and be much more comfortable playing. This is an example of what I call the rule of 3 for guitar, and it's really easy. The hardest part is going to give up your tendency to say, "Where's the tab?" or your commitment to always play exactly what's on the record. Any working musician knows that that's not always possible given the band that you have. In fact, I often have to play horn parts or piano parts on guitar, and this technique really helps with that. Here's the example we'll use today. It's based off of John Mayer's "I'm Gonna Find Another You," which is very similar to Peter Green's "Need Your Love So Bad." And the reason I chose it is because it's a blues structure, but it's got lots of chords. So if you can do it for this, you can do it for just about anything. I'll play through the example first, and then we'll get right into the rule of 3 technique. All right, now we know what it sounds like and we're ready to use the rule of 3. Let's make sure we do all 3 steps in the rule of 3, okay? Here's step 1. Step 1 is to take the first chord, which is an A, and then what we're going to do is on the E string or on the 6th string, we're going to find an A. It's right here on the 5th fret, and we're going to play a chord based on that, an A chord. Okay, that's our starting point. Now what we're going to do is we're going to find all of the chords in the song just in about a 5 or 6 fret span around that A. So we're going to try and keep very close to this area of the fretboard and play the whole song. Now here's one solution to that, okay? There are many. Here is just one. Here's an A. Our next chord is an A7. Here's an A7. Here's a D. Here's a D diminished. That may be a little bit different. May not have seen that. That's a diminished 7, actually. Back to an A. Now an F sharp minor. We want to stay close by here. Now here's an example of an F sharp minor. If that's really hard to finger, you can play this F sharp minor. Okay, now a B minor. And now an E7. And we're back to our A. D, D minor, A. And now finally, a little bit of a strange sounding chord, E augmented. Now if you didn't know any of those chords, no problem. You can Google them or use a tool like Guitar Pro. No shame in that. Now we're ready to go on to step 2. Today's video is brought to you by Skillshare, an incredible online learning community where you can learn new skills or brush up on existing ones. Recently, I've been using Skillshare to brush up on my Swedish. I'm planning a trip to Stockholm soon, and I want to get back into it to be able to get around town and order food and so forth. I found a perfect class that got right into the basics and some fun conversational phrases too. And the instructor was phenomenal, very practical, very fun. If you've been thinking about learning something new or just enhancing what you already know, Skillshare is a perfect place to start, whether it's for a hobby or to hone your professional chops. Photography, script writing, business skills, or the creative arts, you name it. Skillshare has something for everyone. And here's some great news. The first 500 people to join Skillshare using my link get 1 month premium free. So click the link below, join the Skillshare community, and start your free month. Who knows, maybe we'll bump into each other in Stockholm and say, hey son. All right, step 2. Similar to step 1, we're going to start with our A chord, and this time we'll find an A on the 5th string or the A string, which is pretty simple. It's just that open A. So this time we'll find an A right here. There's our A chord. All the chords will be closed now. A7, D, D sharp diminished, actually a D sharp diminished 7. I'll have more to say on this in just a second. We've got an A, F sharp minor, B minor, E7, A, D, D minor, and A. And then finally, E augmented. Now we'll move on to step 3, but before we do, I just want to point out a couple of things that may be obvious to you, but maybe not, so I'll point them out anyway. First, being able to play in one part of the neck is really efficient, and it forces you to learn different voicings for the same chord, so that's a huge bonus. The second thing is, though, did you notice that in doing so and moving around, you can actually get a different place in the mix, and that's really important. Sometimes you want to have a different place in the mix to avoid stepping on the singer or bassist or keyboardist or what have you. Now, let's also talk a little bit about those augmented and diminished chords because they're pretty cool. All right, let's talk diminished. Here's our D sharp diminished 7. And there's a really cool trick that you can play with diminished 7 chords. If you move them up a minor third or 3 frets, you get the same chord. And you can keep doing that. You hear that sometimes, right? So here is the proof. This is a D sharp diminished because there's my root, right? D sharp. This has a D sharp, an A, a C, and an F sharp. If I move that minor third up, I'm going to show you that you get the same notes, just in a different order. Here's an F sharp, a C, a D sharp, and an A. Cool. And you can do that for all of these. And now, the augmented. You can play a similar trick with the augmented chord. If we take our E augmented right here, and we move down not a minor third, not 3 frets, but 4 frets. I'm going to move down 4 frets. I get also the same notes. Now I'll prove it to you. Here is our first one, our E augmented. It's got an E, a G sharp, a C, and another E. If I move down 2 whole steps, I've got a C, an E, a G sharp, and another C. Same notes, different order. So that's a pretty neat time saver because you don't need to learn that many diminished or augmented forms in order to play them all over the neck. Pretty cool. But let's not skip on the last step. So here is step 3. So step 3 is very similar to step 2 in that we're starting with the A chord, just as we did before. We're going to again use the A on the 5th string, but this time we're going to use this one because we want our fingers to generally lie in the direction of the nut, not the bridge. So here's our A. Now A7. Now D. D diminished. Back to our A. F sharp minor. B minor. Here's where learning comes in handy, right? That's the same form that we had before. We've seen that. And now an E7 and A. D, D minor, A, and augmented, E augmented. Now, some of those chords may have been hard for you to finger. Don't worry about it right now. If they're hard, just eliminate some of the notes and just try and keep the same sort of sound. Don't ever let that distract you from doing this. Remember, music is about sound. It's not about getting something right in theory. It's about getting a sound that you want. So it's totally okay to finger something that sounds right to you and is easier. So this was a tough song, but you did it. Congratulations. Rule of 3 application. And if you can do it for this, you can do it for just about anything. So click on this video because in that video, I show you a much simpler application to Hendrix style playing, and it's just another way to bring your play to a totally different level. So click there. I'll see you in the next video, and I'll see you on down the road.